Hello everyone, it's Laura here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm gonna show you how to use distress inks to watercolor an image and to add colorful elements to your card. For this card in particular I used the digital stamp by Craftin Desert Divas. This is called the Little Bear Garden and I really think it's very cute. Whenever I watercolor with distress inks, the setup is what you see on screen. So I have my paper, this is Canson XL watercolor paper. I have my craft mat. I have a cup with clean water that I'll use to rinse off my brushes. A paper towel that I'll use to clean off my brushes or to dry them if I have too much moisture on them. And then I use my craft mat as a palette. So I smush down the ink and then I dilute it with some water. And I pick it up directly from the palette to lay it down on my image. And when I use my watercolors to paint in an image, what I like to do, or rather what I usually do to create shadows and contrast, is after having decided where my light source is, in this case it would be on the top right corner, I pick up my color and I start laying it down where the shadows will go, and then I slowly drag it outwards, and this way I already have a nice gradient to begin with that I can build up on. And as you will see in a moment, after that step is over, I can always come in with some more ink and deepen up the shadows so that I get a nice contrast. And here that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm adding some shadows to the left part of the bear because I didn't feel that part was dark enough. And while I usually use the wet on wet technique, which consists in wetting your paper before you come in with your diluted watercolors, for this particular painting I'm trying the wet on dry technique, which means my paper is dry, so I haven't come in with a layer of clean water, but I just start off directly with my diluted paints and lay them down on my paper. The only part of this card in which I'm gonna use the wet on wet technique is the sky, because that's a larger area and I felt that was gonna allow me to get a more uniform layer of color. But apart from that, I'm just coming in directly with my diluted distress inks, laying it down where the shadows are and then dragging out the color so that I get a nice gradient. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to tell you, at least for the painting part of this card. I will now leave you with some music. I will list the name of the distress inks on the screen as well as on my blog post, which will be linked on the description box down below. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the painting. Catch you guys later. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the coloring. I used some dies by Craftin Desert Divas, the crazy stitched frames, to cut out another rectangular piece of Canson XL watercolor paper, and I'm also using the inside scallop squares to create a frame for my image, because I wanted this to look, I don't know, like a picture or something. I want this kind of element on my card. And I figured out that the smallest of the inside scallop squares is actually nicer for my layout, so I am trimming down my image to size, and that's ready. I can now move on and add some color to my background, and I'm using the same distress inks that I used to paint the image because I want everything to match nicely. So for the outside rectangle panel, I'm using spun sugar, and for the frame that will, okay, yeah, here I'm just cleaning up my mat because I always end up mixing the distress inks when I do this kind of blending, so always clean your mat unless you want to end up with weird colors. Anyway, this is dried marigold and I'm using it to ink my frame, and I will also come in with some squeezed lemonade to brighten up the colors a little bit because I wanted this frame with the image I painted to really stand out on my card. I also used some little flower dies and leaf dies that are part of that same crazy stitched frames to cut some more pieces of Canson XL watercolor paper, and I used shaded lilac for this purple flower. I used cracked pistachio for the leaves, and I used again a mixture of dried marigold and squeezed lemonade for the yellow/orangey flowers, and I am using some liquid glue and my pickup tool to stick down to the card front. Once that is done, I can move on and attach the frame to the panel with the image that I painted, and this is my highly technological tool to do that. I even bought a fine tip applicator, but I haven't, I don't know. I have to press so hard to get glue out of it. I have to figure it out. So I'm sticking to what I know for now. Anyway, the flowers are glued down. I can now glue down my frame. And for the final part of this card, I'll have to move on to the sentiment. For my sentiment, I'm using this beautiful scripty sentiment. This comes from the Floral Wreaths stamp set by Craftin Desert Divas, and I stamped it with my Memento Tuxedo Black. Because I'm stamping on watercolor cardstock and the cardstock is textured, I didn't get the most crisp impression, but that's actually not a problem because I can just simply come in with my, this is a Faber-Castell brush pit pen, and fix any stamping imperfections due to the unevenness of the cardstock. And that's it. That's my card for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it useful. If so, please let me know in the comments below. Leave this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. You can also check out my blog for the full list of supplies, and I hope I'll be back soon with another video. Ciao!